Hello everyone, welcome to What If Deku Had Deadpool's Ability Part 8. The end. Right before Izuku grabbed the doctor he halted. The doctor grinned. "Oh, what's wrong? You look so sure on killing me." He taunted, looking at Izuku's barren eyes. "You can bring them back, can't you?" Izuku asked the smaller man. "Why yes, I can. Glad you asked, but they won't be like how you remember. They'll be like my cute Namus, no personality, no thoughts for themselves, and no memories of you. I thought you would ask for this, so I already went ahead and started. First by healing the brains while doing some other stuff," he stated as Izuku looked at Mei and the others. Only hearing the part that he can save them. "All you need to do get them back is stay with All for One and I can bring them back," he thought as the doctor drummed on with his speech of the Namu process. But they wouldn't be them. In the corner of his eye he saw a bundle of items. Walking to them he held them. Half-knitted beanies, cat ears, cloths that belonged to the girls, a guitar pick, and on the side laid Mei's shattered goggles. Inspecting them, the lenses were destroyed, very dirty, the side pipes were bent, and on the backside splotches of dried blood were left. "Mei, you didn't deserve this. I can get you back. You all didn't deserve this. I will put you back together, I promise," he muttered, hugging the items on his knees. "I will do anything to get you all back." The doctor grinned as he heard Izuku. Looking at his teleporter, he opened the hatch filled with photos of them all. It was out power. Izuku looked at them floating in the tubes. They were gone, his kids were gone, and the man who started him down this path was right there. Also is the only one currently that can help him. The path he started on, the one he dragged the others into by being around. She wouldn't want this. She wouldn't want to lose her memories. None of them would. "I have to find another way," he muttered, looking at his hand, pulling out Himiko's knife. He permanently shut the latch-filled photos them on his teleporter. Placing the broken goggles on his head, he stood up. Then walked slowly to the doctor that started all of this. The man who made him the way he is, the monster that everyone else saw. What are you doing?" the doctor asked him, seeing his sudden change in demeanor. "The right thing. I can help. I can undo this. I don't want to die. I can save them. Are you going to let them die? Is this about the kids? They are." Tears exited his eyes as he plunged Himiko's knife directly into the doctor's heart. That shut him up as Izuku lifted him. "Just shut up," he muttered, snapping his neck, then tossed the corpse to the side. "You can't undo what you did, like me." His head was pulsing with pain as he looked at his lovers. Nothing but shells of their former selves. "I'm sorry. I promised to protect you all. I can't keep a single damn promise. Anytime I've made a promise I haven't been able to keep it, no matter how hard I tried. I tried to change, start anew, make something of my life, but I get dragged right back in the den of hell. I don't even have to die to know how it is. I am already there. Big house, 8 big family, friends, that is what I ever wanted. All you supported me, even when I brought you trouble or pain." He cried as he yelled at his lovers in stasis. He didn't care if they couldn't hear him. He just wanted them to know. Izuku began to connect tubing to them all, to him and them. "I am just hoping this works," he thought, feeding his blood into all the tubes while looking at all their vitals. "Please, just show me a sign," he begged, looking at the vitals and their brain activity. Hoping for a single ounce of change. "Come on," he muttered, looking at the vitals as their vitals spiked. He looked in amazement. He can do it. The earth shook, causing Izuku to look up to see the ceiling of the bunker cracking. "No, no, no," he shouted as it began to cave in. Soon the dark consumed him, buried him underground. From above, All for One blew up the hospital in a fiery explosion, caving the land in. "Poor Doc, looks like I am going to have to find another assistant," he spoke, floating above the chaos happening under him. "Outnumbered, less powerful, and soon to run out of energy to even breath. Yet you all still fight," he stated as Mirio flew at him. "It's cause we all have someone to protect and save we will fight to end." The two clashed in the air, sending shock waves to everyone. The other Gigantomachia began to gang up on MT. Lady Momo made a cannon, and Yui expanded it to the proper size for the giant woman. "Thanks a bunch." She picked it up and swung it around, hitting one as the fuse went off, shooting the other Gigantomachia in the face. The two turned to slush as the original pinned the heroine. "Get off," she yelled, kicking him off of her. "I am not into clingy men," she shouted, swinging her bat at his head. UA students and other heroes fought the Naumas as the terrain was altered against them. Endeavor and Shoto burned all that they could. Tuia flew into the sky, taking out flying ones. Itsuki blasted any Naumu inside as he watched the hospital cave in. "They'll be fine. Izuku will save them," he screamed to himself as he kept fighting. Mina's skin was beginning to burn as Kirishima's began to crack as well. All of them were beginning to feel fatigue. All the reserves of the blood were gone, and so their injuries were sticking. "Looks like Class 1 is finally getting shown up," Minama shouted as he used Big Fist to block a Naumu from hitting Kinoko. "Not the time." Kendo shouted as he smiled, "What a little competition never hurt." "We'll show you up," Denki shouted, sparking up. "Oh yeah, prove it." "We will," they all shouted together. "Bring it," Minama shouted as they all fought the Naumas. With the help of Erasure, when they went down they stayed down. "These students of ours," Vlad stated as Aizawa nodded. We have get the rest of them. Mirio punched All for One cleanly and his fist went through the man. A wound like this is nothing boy. He stated smacking Mirio to the ground. Getting up off of it, Mirio struggled up. All for One grabbed his head and threw him through multiple trees. All the power with no way to use it. All for One, I will beat you, if not me then she will. Mirio stated, getting up, wiping away his blood. That amused the old villain who? You'll get to know her real good. Mirio stated, powering up, but not right now. The two fought again, the clashing between them shook the earth, causing craters wherever they landed. With his quirk, Mirio made sure his was never stolen by the man in front of him, which made the other quite annoyed by the predicament. No matter, he would just have to take it off the corpse of the boy. Suddenly they all heard massive helicopters fly overhead as the hatches opened, releasing thick ropes with very strong tensile strength. Let us commence. Best Genius stated, activating his quirk and tying all of the Naumas he could down along with Gigantomachia. Take them all out, he shouted, tightened his hold on them all. Do what you agreed to. He says, turning his to the man behind him. I know what I have to do. The man stated, leaping from the chopper. I am a businessman after. Destro activated his quirk, crashing to the ground below. Then gave the order for the rest to come. Everyone charge. He ordered through the intercom. Hundreds of the Metal Liberation Army showed, actively helping the heroes and students. More ants come to play. All for One stated as Destro attack him. Not scared of me anymore. No, I am not. Destro answered. Not anymore. Jida smiled as her boss answered her plea for help. Her plans were finally being recognized. I am just answering my subordinates' pleas for help. He says as the two fought, with Mirio joining his side. What next? Who else will get in my way? All for One asked as bomber jets flew in, firing a massive laser at another clone of Gigantomachia appearing. How about me? I always wanted to fight you. All for One. Stars and Stripes said, smiling while standing on her plane. No, he said as got a view on what was happening. The Naumus were going down, he had no villains to help him, Gigantomachia is being held down, and the #1 hero for America was here. No more running. She said as All for One glared at them all. Star joined the beatdown of the ancient villain. He was still very powerful, one that he could fight all of them by himself. Mount Lady held the giant down, Ryukyu, Maruko fought the Naumus working in tandem with the others. Duia burned the Naumus to ashes. The mountain was decimated from all the fighting. Everyone fought to the bitter end, picking each other up if one fell. All together they fought the legion of Naumus. Underground it shook violently as tears flowed from Izuku's eyes. Please turn on. He thought as he finally got the computer up and running. Yes, quickly typing what he needed as another quake went off. Looking around he saw that they were okay. Might as well shut off all the Naumus from here. It's a good thing the doc had a generator down here. Izuku says, running to the girls. Just wait little bit more and I can save you guys. Just a little bit more. Heading back to work, he hooked up what he needed to get powered. The cave-in didn't go all the way down, but it did shut off the power and their life support tubes. Taking them out, Izuku clothed them and made sure they were all still breathing. Please work. He muttered, he felt as if he will lose the rest of his mind. Breathing heavily, he poured his blood into a blood bag. It all seeped into their systems. Come on. Izuku said, looking at their vitals. This time the result was much worse. No activity in the brains of either of them. Nothing, not a single part of the brain lit up. Please, he shouted, begging for something good to happen or appear, but nothing happened. Just nothing. Nothing happened. Nothing changed, nothing got better no matter what he did. It was all for naught. None of his attempts did anything. He held Mei close as he cried, cradling her body close to his. Placing his hand on her stomach, he could feel that the baby inside was not there no more. Mei, we were supposed to get married, get the pizzeria up and running. Remember when you cooked for the first time and you blew up the kitchen, or when we tried to get to the secret with the yellow beauty? Io, how about our first adventure? The bar, when I almost killed Genton. How about when I got Kota out of the bar with you, Ray? We also met Shino then. I tried to think about future together as a family. I would take care of the kids, make you all wheat cakes. Breakfast in bed and stuff like that. Mom and dad visiting with Kitsuki and the others. Though on adventures, now that I think about it, May, I haven't taken you my kingdom. Nagant loved it. So did Kaio and Ibarra. Ryuko, I remember your face when you found you were pregnant. You looked so happy to the point you cried. Same with Tomoko and Shino. The future I wanted was for us all to live happily. Guess I was being too optimistic. May, please just wake up. Please don't leave alone. I know it's selfish of me, a dumb crazy monster, to ask that, but please show me a sign. Just one. Just one. Please. Izuku held May tighter as he cried, alone, trapped underground with no to help him. No one to lift him up and save him, completely alone. Internally he felt as if his mind was going to rip apart. It was like hurricane inside his own mind of thoughts, memories, voices, all of them were running wild. Whatever mental stability he has gained over the year were breaking under the pressure. The guilt of it all weighing more and more every passing moment. I'm sorry, May. I am sorry for ever getting into your life. If I never met you, none of this would have happened. You'd still be alive and well. If only I didn't exist. I wish I died in womb. Mom and dad would still be alive with my parents. All for one wouldn't get back to prime if I was dead. You all would be still alive. I wish I didn't exist anymore. Izuku roared out, bawling his eyes rolled back into his head, entering his fractured mind and holding a match inside. In the far corner of his mind he saw a door with the label Hall of Memories. The ground shook violently as All for One was smashed into the earth by Mirio and Star. Aizawa and Manama erased the quirks he used, making the all-powerful man become vulnerable. "No!" he shouted as Star raised her arm into the air, a little present from General Akbar. State-of-the-art hypersonic intercontinental cruise punch. From the sky, an air version of herself grabbed a hold of Tiamat's. The cluster on intercontinental cruise missiles were soon transformed into pure destructive energy. She slammed the fist point blank into All for One, disintegrating the man to pure nothingness. She huffed for air. "Is it over?" she asked as Mirio collapsed to the ground. "Yes, it's over, we won," he stated as MT. "Lady knocked out Gigantomachia. Take that, I am the best giant," she shouted with a bloodied face. Soon passing out and shrunk to her normal size, where Ichako grabbed her. With a tired Momo and Yui. "Where's Izuku?" Ichako asked as Katsuki ran to the decimated hospital. "He was in here. He is probably the one that shut off the Naumus." The heroes that could still move all converged to his location. "The girls must be with him then," Tuya says, wrapping up his burns. "Let's go in then," Aizawa tiredly said as Vlad nodded. That was the whole point of this. In his mind, Izuku opened the door with a plan. No more," he muttered, setting the Hall of Memories ablaze. Taking out his blade, he shredded the memory of meeting May at the junkyard. Slicing and dicing everyone and everything he ever cared about. Getting rid of it all, he couldn't handle it anymore. He is going to make sure that he doesn't exist at all. Fulfilling his own wish that he wished upon himself. No more Izuku Midoriya Bakugo. No more Izuku Midoriya. No more. No. He destroyed everything inside, erasing any trace of himself inside his mind. Who am I? The man opened his eyes to see that he was holding a pink-haired woman. His face was wet and his eyes stun, also swollen. Why am I crying? More importantly, who am I? Who are the people watching me? He got after, gently placing the woman on the ground. There was barely any light wherever he was. The big computer gave enough for him to see the mask on the ground. Picking it up, "This is one cool mask. The red is a nice touch. Oh wait, it's blood. The real color is green. Still nice," he said, getting to the computer to see updates. Clicking on them, articles popped up showing the destroyed Jakku Mountain and hospital. Wow, wonder what caused that. The murderous vigilante Deadpool was first seen entering the hospital and getting every patient out before the battle started. He is still on the loose after breaking out jail. He goes by Izuku Midoriya. He read it out loud, seeing photos of the guy. "That guy's just sounds crazy," he muttered, looking at the mask, then back at the screen, then at the suit he was wearing. "Wait a minute, that's me. I'm Deadpool. That means my name is Izuku Midoriya," he shouted, excited. "So cool." He looked at more articles about himself. "I am a for-hire murderer and will kill anyone for the money. Sounds like I have job. That doesn't explain the women behind me asleep," he says, putting them in a much more comfortable position. "There, they'll wake up soon. So this a teleporter? Oh, it already pre-planned locations on a timer. Wonder who set them. Festival, Christmas, yada yada yada. Wait, a wedding is pre-planned. Looks like I got invited. I wonder who getting married," he said as his eye leaked. Rubbing them, how weird. Grabbing the goggles off his head, "These are a piece of junk. Why am I wearing them?" he stated, tossing them to the side. Only for his body to lung out and catch them. "Looks I am keeping them," he said, putting on his mask and attaching them to the top of his head. Walking over to the dead doctor with a knife beside it. "Knife take." "Okay." Izuku agreeing with his impulses, putting it in his pocket. "Time to go. The teleporter is out of juice, so walking it is." The entire roof was soon lifted, unearthing him and showing the bright sun. "Cool, but who did it?" he asked, seeing a buff blonde woman tossing the earth to the side. Tatsuki slid down into Izuku, then gave him a hug. His heart dropped when he heard his question. Who are you and why are you hugging me?" Izuku asked, "But I guess everyone needs a hug every now and then." "What are you talking about?" Katsuki asked as Izuku looked at him confused. "It's me, Katsuki. Doesn't ring a single bell," Izuku says, pushing him aside and walking away. "Looks like I found my exit, thanks whoever you are." "What about May?" Katsuki yelled at Izuku, making him halt. "Who?" he asked as Katsuki looked at girls on the ground. "Think care what happened down here?" he asked. "Beats me. I woke up down there with my face wet." "Why, you don't remember?" No, but I do know my name and alias. So I sorta gotta see the world," Izuku said, seeing everyone. They all looked at him happily as he walked through them. Shocking them. Izuku, why are you leaving?" Ichako asked, reaching for him. He slapped her hand away from him. "Cause I know exactly none of you, so bye." "Midoriya, don't leave. Where are the others? Are they safe? Are you okay? Please tell us something. Where is my mother? You promised to take care of her, Shoto shouted at him. I don't know. Okay, I barely know who I am, and you all are asking me questions. I can't remember jack shit about my past. As for your mom, I don't give single shit about her or anybody cause I can't remember them at all. Shoto lit up his flame side as Izuku took out his carbonadium blades. Look, Peppermint, you started this. Izuku stated. The rest looked at him shocked that his memory was gone. Everything that they all went through together was all gone from his mind. The Izuku they knew was gone and this was all that was left of him. Midnight knocked out Shoto as Izuku huffed, walking away sheathing his blades. Class Midoriya is a lost cause at the moment, focus on finding your other classmates. Vlad King stated as he watched Izuku walk away. Kid, be safe. Midoriya watched from afar, not knowing what to believe. What he did know was that the answers he wanted were underground. Itsuki went to the girls, seeing what they were hooked up to. His widened on the realization on what was happening to them. They were rushed to UA since every other hospital was filled with patients. As they were, Katsuki heard a distinct cry of a child, not of one child, but of multiple children. Babies. He muttered, following the noise as Tsuyu followed him. Finding a dead end, he blasted the false wall to reveal a secret room inside with cribs. Walking up to one, he found the crying child. It was a little girl with pink curly hair and diamond-formated freckles. She opened her eyes to reveal them bright green pupils that were zooming in and out. Picking up the child, he held it in his arms gently. Shh, don't worry, Uncle Kakin is here. Don't cry. He whispered as the child calmed down. Tsuyu did the same with the others. The children are his, but they shouldn't be born yet. Tsuyu stated as Katsuki nodded. They might be the reason he is the way he is right now. They transferred the children with the mothers to UA, where Recovery Girl gave them checkups. All healthy babies. She said as they all sighed in relief. For the mothers, I cannot say the same. She said, what do you mean? Shoto asked her. Sighing, she brought the charts. They all are brain dead. No activity inside their brains at all. My quirk cannot heal that. She says, what about Izuku's? It could, but not by much. She said as Ichako looked down. Izuku was born with his powers. Could one of the children have a stronger healing factor? Mitsuki asked, walking in with a bandaged up Masaru. Perhaps, but we have no way to see if one of them was born with one. Without harming the child. Recovery Girl states as items around began to be lifted. One of the children with dark reddish hair laughed as she used her power. The others followed her example, using their mutant abilities without a care in the world. One with bright green straight hair didn't do anything but sit there. She had cat-like eyes and was born with fangs. She began to glow brightly. Recovery Girl picked up the child and placed her upon her mother's chest. The two glowed as Himiko's vitals improved significantly. It quickly began to spread to the others, healing them as well. Long-ranged healing and full-body healing. My, this child surpasses my healing and her father's. Recovery Girl stated as Katsuki thought about Izuku. Izuku couldn't handle the fact that they were brain dead, was that the linchpin that shattered his mind and forgot everything as a coping mechanism. The child soon stopped as the mothers of the children slowly awoke. Himiko opened her eyes to see the rest of them. Guys, why is there a baby on my boob? She's your daughter and she healed your severe brain damage. Recovery Girl stated. About Izuku, Katsuki started. Who's that? Himiko asked them, what do you mean? He asked, fearing her answer. I mean, I don't know who you are talking about. Katsuki stopped as so did the rest. Mitsuki was shocked. Honey, he is the father of your child. She said as Himiko tried to remember Izuku, but nothing came out of it. I can't remember him at all. Is that be bad? She asked. I can remember every else, but I can't remember his face, personality, or what he likes. The others were in the same predicaments. The only memories they could not recall were the ones with Izuku, leaving massive gaps in their minds. Mei awoke holding the child in her arms. Mei, please tell us that you remember who Izuku is. Mitsuki asked her. Mom, who are you talking about? Mitsuki hugged her daughter-in-law. Don't worry, you all will be fine. She promised. Then the rumble coughing was heard. Fixing his lab coat, the doctor stood up. Everything is gone, I can always restart. Lab rat didn't think I would implant myself with his healing. The doctor says, getting out from his hiding spot. They found the kids, they were my lifeline for my future work, but Master had many friends that I can work for. The doctor said, moving in the dead of night. Don't move. As always stated, why are you here? Shut it. Tuya spoke up, lighting the area with his blue fire. I have info. Tuya blasted fire at the doctor's arm. We don't need it, your computer had a camera with audio. We heard what you said and did to him. Nezu stated, walking to the doctor. His mind is beyond repair, much worse than before. You've killed Izuku Midoriya Bakugo. I am just here to clean up the trash he left behind and keeping my promise. Nezu stated with an evil glint. You can't kill me, your heroes, you have to turn me and you'll become criminals, he shouted at Nezu, Tuya, and Izawa. You're right about that. Then Tenko Shimura, do you and your friends want to do the honors? Nezu asked as the league appeared. Seems imprisoning and stealing the quirks of your peers causes a bit of resentment. What was the promise? The doctor asked, buying time. Oh, a simple one. The last time I met Izuku, he made me make promise to protect his friends and family from danger by any means necessary, even if it means getting rid of him. Izuku loved them so much that he knew he would cause them problems. So that was his solution, entrusting them to me. So I am going to fulfill it, as I am a rat of my word. Nezu stated as Shigaraki dusted the man. Nezu sighed, wiping his hands. Okay Shimura, what do you want to do? Nezu asked. My grandmother is telling me to be a hero. All for one, the quirk would be a great use for it. Then I will handle the paperwork, and is it the same for the rest of you? Nezu asked. They all nodded. Okay, I will deal with everything, all of you just rest. Nezu says, walking away with Aizawa. I will see you all in UA. Weeks passed, the children lived with their mothers. Mei had a daughter named Eleanor. She had her mother's quirk, but no showing of her mutant ability. The same could be said for Nagant's little boy. He had blue hair with green highlights with his mother's quirk. She named the boy Tomo. Emiko's little girl seemed to have taken her transformation quirk, and her mutant ability was named Cell Revival. She was quite the feisty one, so she named her Kirigi. Rei's little boy was reserve and had his father's healing along with her ice quirk. She decided to name him Kori. Ryuko, or Pixie Bob, was ecstatic to have her child. The little girl was quite like her mother in terms of energy. Her mutant ability was turn herself into organic diamond. As for the quirk, it hasn't come in yet. She was named Emma. Tomoko's child was quite the runner. She would crawl anywhere just to see where it lead. It could be a byproduct of her quirk, and she had the ability to phase through walls like Mirio. Catherine was her name, but Tomoko also called her little kitty or kitten. She knows children. Yes, children were quite the pair. She had twins, one boy and one girl. The girl was named Wanda and the was named Pietro. Wanda's abilities seem to have come more from her grandmother's quirk with her telekinesis. We don't know the rest of her abilities as of yet. Pietro had super speed that putting the Iida family to shame, along with a full head of green hair. Ioka's daughter was a mellow baby, but if upset will burst everyone's drums. Her abilities included the mother's jax and the mutant ability to send shock waves out from her mouth. She had purple hair with green tips with the iconic freckles. She decided on the name Izumi for her name. For some reason it was the only name that would pop into her head. The children of the Bara were also quiet children. Clara, having straight green hair along with dark green eyes, also showing no signs of a quirk. Seemed to have a connection with plants to control and talk to them telepathically. Vines and roses seemed to be the best ones she can control at the moment. Lynn, her other child, was born with similar abilities, along with a set of antlers growing on her head. Her hair was like her sister's. Samuel was a carbon copy of his father, except lacking green eyes. He was born with solid black eyes. His mutant ability revolved around plants as well. He caused a rose bush to grow into a tree fully supported like one as one. He accelerated the growth and controlled it. Eri and Kota were saddened by the fact of what happened to Izuku, or what was left of him, but hoped someday he would come back. Eri losing her father figure made her sad, same with Kota losing his uncle. So the two took on the role of being the older siblings of the babies. Kitsuki told his parent about Izuku's condition and the fact that he might never come back. But Tsuki and Masaru stayed strong, knowing if their son might not be with them, but he was still safe somewhere. The rest of the class was forced to move on from their missing classmate, as they all have lives to focus on. Achako and Tsuyu kept tabs on Izuku's locations and spotted sightings. At least one day they might see again. Back on his kingdom, a small furry monster made his claim. The future I saw has come to be. The king is long gone, but his children will live, and we shall wait, for I foresee a brighter future for them. Shut up, you and your damn fake visions. The king is unkillable, another shouted, going back to his normal life waiting for the king. Jeff the land stayed with the children, being their guard dog or shark. He silently waiting for one of his owners to come home. They all tried to make the girls remember by taking them to a person with a memory quirk to see if they could resurface the memories. Only to find nothing. The memory of Izuku in their minds were completely erased with no trace of him anywhere. Mei felt as if she was missing a part of herself, but Eleanor filled that hole she felt. Her daughter was her whole world, and same could be said for her siblings. At 5 years I have to wait 5 years. I don't know why though. She said, turning on the toy animatronics. Eri, I turned them on, she yelled out as the unicorn girl rushed down to see her robotic friends. Yeah, I have to show the others I am going to be the world's greatest big sister, she shouted as Mei grinned, holding Eleanor. Time passed on. Like all things, people move on with their lives. The UA festival happened with no interruption, though they did get a disturbance of 3 people fighting. By the time they showed up, the trio were without a trace, like they just upped and vanished. The class celebrated Christmas with another instance of an intruder, but all that happened was the fact they all got an extra present. Soon the date that Mitsuki planned for the wedding came to be. Instead of scrapping it, they all went to see if the other that promised to come would show. If he did show, it would be the first time they'd seen him in months. The party soon came to close as everyone began to leave, but May had the urge to stay a little bit longer. "You sure, honey?" Masaru asked her as she nodded. "Don't know why, but I just want to stay. Maybe I want to finish the rest of the food," May says as Mitsuki held her granddaughter. So deep down she is still waiting on him to show even if she doesn't remember who he is. Mitsuki thought as she hugged her. "Just don't get sick or stay up too late." "Thanks mom, Ellie, be nice to grandma," May told her daughter Babu. "That's my girl," May says poking her forehead. The trio soon left leaving May alone at the altar. Grabbing a plate she sat down as she filled it with food. Taking a bite she sighed, pulling out her sketchbook, filling it with more ideas. She flipped throughout the pages to find drawings that weren't hers or Himiko's. Chainsaw gun. What a dumb idea, she muttered, flipping through it more. Finding a design for a suit that she recognized as her art but had no memory of drawing it. How weird, must have designed it while half awake. Hours passed as it soon struck midnight. May stayed alone wondering what was she doing. A single tear fell from her eye as it became 12:01. "Why am I crying? I am not sad or hurt," she questioned as more came out. Suddenly a flash of light appeared with someone crashing into the nearby tables. "God damn it, I just got forked in the stomach," the person said, getting up and tossing the fork away. "Where's everyone? Did I miss it?" I would like to know who you are," May asked bloodied up and bullet-filled man. "Who's asking?" "Me," she stated, pulling out her pistol aiming at him. "Oh, you're packing heat, a crazy Pinkie Pie look-alike. I am gonna like you. By the way, why the gun?" "A little encouragement for you to answer." May says, "Okay, I'm Deadpool, but you can call me Izuku Midoriya. Why are you here?" "I don't know, my watch had a date for a wedding today, guess I missed it by 5 minutes." Izuku says, checking the time. May looked at his head and recognized what wrapped around it. "Hey, those are my goggles, you thief," May shouted at him. "Really? When I woke I just had them. They were really damaged so I fixed them," Izuku admitted, pulling them off his head and taking off his mask. He handed them to May as she took them back and placed them on her head. He looked her up and down. "You know what? Those goggles just suit you," he says as she grinned. "His hair is like Ellie's and the others. Same with the freckles." She nodded. "Well, might as well call it a night," she says as Izuku tried to remember where has he last seen her. The two exited the building. "Hey Pinkie Pie, why were you alone in there?" Izuku asked. "I don't know, but I think it was worth it waiting there. I got to meet you and got my goggles back." "What are plans for the future?" Izuku asked out of the blue as May thought about it. "If I were to say it would be make a place to call home for my family." What's so funny?" she asked Izuku, who was chuckling. "Nothing." "Fine, what are your plans?" "To find a home. I don't have friends or any family. I only know my name and alias. I am mercenary for hire that get filled with bullets daily," Izuku said as May patted his back. "Things will get better." "I hope so. Then again, what else more can I possibly lose?" he asked himself as his phone went off. "Oh, another job. Have to kill a guy called Tire. Nice meeting you." "May, yeah, call me May." "Nice to meet you, May, but I gotta go, so have a nice life," Izuku said, walking off. "You too," May shouted. She walked to Mitsuki's house. "May, where did you get those goggles?" Mitsuki asked, remembering Katsuki telling her that he saw Izuku having them on the last time they met. "Oh, a mercenary guy gave them to me. They're my original ones. Don't know how he got them though," she says, leaving to her room to check up on Eleanor. "Izuku, you did show. Guess a bit of you is still in there," she thought, smiling as Masaru thought the same. "Son, be safe and come home soon." Izuku walked alone down the sidewalk as he info for his next target. "So T-Ray lives in New York. Time for a paycheck," Izuku said, teleporting to a bright and bustling city. Seeing heroes fly above, Izuku grinned as his stomach growled. "Oh, I was hungry, sorta. Was betting the wedding had food, but it was all gone. Guess that's what I get for being late," he says, looking down the street to see a Mexican food truck. The name was quite fitting. "Another beginning. Looks like that is my sign to start anew," Izuku said, buying a certain type of funny-sounding food. He teleported to a roof and sat alone eating his food as he grinned. "Things will get better. Thanks, Pinkie Pie." 5 years later. Epilogue. "Can't believe 5 years have passed me by," Izuku said, pulling out glass shards. "Sir, are you okay?" a random passerby asked. "Yeah, I am good, just have some glass in my ass," he said, walking away from his last job. That was currently splattered on the ground after they fell off the Empire State Building. He sighed, entering his apartment. It was empty and lonely. Looking into his fridge, he pulled out a carton of milk and drank from the opening. Laying on the comfortable wood floor, he tried to sleep until he got a call. "What? Deadpool here. New job. Okay, killer clown, where?" "Oh, in an amusement park. Japan. Man, I have been there in so long." "I know you didn't ask, I was just saying. You don't have to be a hick about it. Is the reason why you're acting like this because I crashed your grandma's funeral with fireworks? I apologized for it. Hey, I even gave you pumpkin pie as a bonus." "Oh, she died to a pumpkin pie due to an allergic reaction. That makes sense. Wonder who she got it from." Izuku hung up and picked up his teleporter from its charger. His suit was filled with holes and faded from its previous lighter colors. Its self-healing ability was beginning to fail after the abuse Izuku put it through. The same could be said for his guns and blades. He fixed them the best he could, but the damage was already done. Ought to get an upgrade, too bad anyone I go to get crappier gear compared to mine. I should find the original creator of the suit, this is just fantastic. He said, teleporting to Dagaba Beach. Might as well go for a stroll. Walking around the area he felt a wave of nostalgia, but couldn't put his finger on it why he felt that way. Walking by a construction site he saw a heroine floating around helping move around the massive construction vehicles. Hey Chestnut, need help? He asked. No, it's okay. She turned to him and stopped talking. You okay? He asked as she nodded, floating to him. It's you. She said, landing on the ground. You know me? Izuku asked her as she nodded. You still don't remember? Do you? She asked as Izuku looked at her confused. Well then, my name is Iravati, but you can call me Achako. Are you an old friend? He asked as she nodded. A very old one, look for me if you need something. Achako said, floating away using her rocket boots to pick up the speed. He's back, gotta tell the others. She thought as Izuku got a great look from the back. Skin tight might have not have been the best choice. He commented, going on his stroll. Suddenly a massive wave of ice sprung up in the middle of the city. Teleporting to the area, Izuku saw the pro-hero Shoto fighting a massive slime that was taking the same of various animals. He looked down from a tall building. Cool, haha, puns. He joked to himself, taking couple steps back. Looks like Zuko needs a little help. Running full speed he leaped off the building, aiming towards the villain. Wahoo! He hollered, pulling out a grenade. Pulling at the pin, Shoto looked up to see the screaming man. Wait, he shouted as Izuku pierced the slime, reaching the center of it. From the outside, Shoto looked in disbelief at Izuku's actions. There is only one person who is that reckless. He muttered as the slime exploded into a million pieces. Izuku slung the man in the center of it all over his shoulder. Hey Zuko, I got your dude, he said, walking to the pro. Deadpool, how are you doing? He asked the slime-covered mercenary. Just dandy, I have to go, so here you dude and see you around. Izuku said, teleporting away. Still the same as always. Izuku reappeared to the target's location. All Might's world. If that ain't an ego rub and a half, then I don't know what is. He stated, walking and paying for his ticket to enter. Time to kill. He muttered, walking past a group of kids. With the eldest stopping to turn to him. She had white hair with a massive horn on her forehead. Appa. The now 12-year-old Eri muttered as he continued walking. Big sis Wanda took my candy. Emma stated, no I didn't, I can read your mind, I know you did. Wanda, give it or I will give it to Kitty. Eri said as Wanda instantly gave it back. Rule number 1, keep sugar away from Catherine. Triplets, stay together and keep your Foz watches on so you can call me. You 3 are free to go. Wanda, Pietro, don't cause trouble and you get to free roam. If someone weird comes up to you, you know what to do. Eri ordered as the twins saluted and ran to their favorite ride. Tomo, Izumi, Cory, Emma, you 3 stay together with Kitty. Keep your eyes on her. Eri says, hey, I am not that out of control. Kitty says with a grin. Last time we lost track of you, you almost shipped yourself to New York because you saw it in HeroTube. Eri brings up, fine, you got me there. They left as Eri did a head count. Wait, where is Ellie and Kariji? She yelled, looking around for her younger sister. Putting some steampunk-styled goggles. Good thing Mama May put trackers on them. She says, running forward, locking onto their locations. Her shoes turned into rollerblades, causing her to speed up greatly. She skated towards the men in front of her were stairs going down. She jumped into the air and grinded down the rail, causing sparks. Catching up to the girls, she saw a scene she thought she would never see. Get off, Izuku yelled, trying to pull off the 2 girls off of him without hurting them. Appa, Appa, the 2 girls said over and over as Izuku told to get off. Eri took a photo and sent it to Kota, smiling as she walked up. I've never even had a girlfriend, how could I be a daddy, reasoned with the 2 children. I don't know, but I know you are, Kariji says as Ellie nodded. Girls, what Mama May said about touching people? Eri asked, pulling off the girls. Not to. But you listened, but you didn't learn. Eri says as Izuku turned to the girl. Thank you. Izuku says as Eri nodded. Suddenly Izuku the girls into the air as he was filled with bullets. Gosh, shoot, why did I says shoot? He asked himself, catching the girls. Sorry, my body moved on its own. He says, holding Eri and placing her on his back. Ahaha, you think I wouldn't notice you, Deadpool bozo, the clown shouted, aiming his Gatling gun at him. Mother fudger, almost killed the kids. Why am I censoring myself? Izuku said, pulling out his gun to shoot him, only to hear a click. I swear I reloaded this. He said, diving to the side, evading the bullets. His body was moving on its own to protect the girls on his back. Eri felt as if she was 6 again, being on his back like they used to. Kariji began to glow, healing Izuku instantly. No more hurting Papa, she shouted. Yeah, Eleanor shouted, throwing a soda at the clown. Time to get my paycheck. He said, getting up to fight the clown. until a massive hand smashed him to the ground, revealing it to be Battle Fist Kendo. "Knew my paycheck," he shouted with tears coming out as she put him away. "Good thing I volunteered today," she said, picking up the clown. "To the station with you." Izuku looked at her as he dialed up his employer. Here is the thing. He got caught by a hero." "What do you mean I am fired? I failed one job. You're kicking me out. Now you are just being a prick. You know what? I am glad I gave your grandma the pumpkin pie. She always said to me that you were a spineless coward." Izuku hung up and looked down. "Man, that was supposed to get me through the month. He was last employer of mercenaries in New York," he muttered as Eri looked at him sadly. Suddenly her watch went off from the triplets. "I have to go," she shouted, grabbing her siblings and skating away. "Bye Papa," the three shouted as they left him confused. "Did I have a kid? No way, someone like me would never get a woman." While Eri was carrying Eleanor, she threw the bullets away in a trash can. "Might as well enjoy the park," he said, sadly, walking to a small roller coaster. He pushed past a green-haired kid. "Hey, you're cutting." Pulling out a cracked knife, Izuku placed it at the child's neck. "How about I show you what real cutting is?" Izuku asked playfully. "I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you. Can you speak into my microphone?" Pietro said, pulling out a revolver and aiming it under Izuku's chin. "Whoa ho ho, things just got real," he said, slowly backing up. "Who in their right mind gave a kid a gun?" Somewhere in a pizzeria, May sneezed. "Someone is talking about me," she says, shutting the opening to Freddy's stomach. Izuku back up, bumping into a red-haired child, knocking her ice cream to the ground. "Oh my gosh, I am so sorry," Izuku said, getting to her level to see the child's eyes full of anger, shining bright red with wisps of red glow coming off of them. "Oh no." Izuku was sent flying into a pole, bending it by Wanda. "My ice cream," she shouted, starting to cry. Instantly Izuku got up. "Wait, don't cry, I will get you another one," he says as she looked up to him. Really?" she asked as Izuku teleported away and came back with a tub of it. "Strawberry, my favorite." "How did you know?" she asked. "Lucky guess. I just got my favorite." "Good things she likes it as well," he thought, giving it to her. She walked to her brother in line as Izuku smiled at the scene. Suddenly Wanda held her head, feeling like she was linking to something or someone. "Papa?" she thought as parental link formed with the man that just helped her. "Brain freeze?" Pietro asked her as she shook her no. "I can feel Papa nearby, he feels sad and lonely." "You found Dad?" he asked her. "Yes, with your magic powers?" he asked as she nodded. "What are we waiting for? Let's find him," he said, dashing off with his super speed, then coming back. "You lead the way, I don't know what I am looking for," he said. She took flight as he followed. Izuku walked around till he caught another child that phased through a ride. "That was fun," she yelled. "You fell off a moving roller coaster and you called it fun?" Izuku says, raising an eyebrow. "Yep, you're pretty weird, aren't you?" "Yeah, I am told. So am I, so we can be awesome by being weird," Izuku says as she smiled widely. "How you look like the pro ragdoll, but as a kid." "Oh, she's my mom, do you want to date her? She's been really lonely," Catherine yelled, grabbing Izuku by the cheeks of his mask. "Rain, check on that question. Did he get back here and let of his face?" Emma stated as Tomo nodded. Corey just stood there with Izumi watching the scene. "No," Catherine shouted back as Emma tried to pull her off. "Get off." With the help of the other kids they pulled her off. Though she took something with her. She ripped the mask off Izuku's face. The children stood in awe, looking at the familiar looking man. "Guys, he looks like Samuel and he has Ellie's eyes. Same color and everything," Corey stated as they all looked at each other, seeing resemblance in him and themselves. They talked amongst themselves as Izuku took back his mask and walked away. "Is he our dad?" Izumi asked. "He has to be, he looked like Samuel and we all have a trait from him. Freckles, eyes are our hair color, we all have at least one of those," Tomo says as Emma nodded. "Well, we have to make sure we are going to follow him for a DNA sample," Corey says as the rest follow his lead. Eri got to the triplets to find them completely fine. "Why did you guys call?" she asked, with Lynn speaking up. "Samuel was talking to the plants with us when they told us that they saw a guy that looked like him," she said, holding her antlers. "The roses and Vine said the same," Clara says, holding a rose petal. "Can you lead us?" Samuel asked of Vine as it grew rapidly, leading them all to Izuku's location. They found him. "What about the others?" Knowing Papa, he probably ran into them, Eri thought as she followed her siblings. She suddenly got a text from Kota. "I will be right there. Looks he wants to see Papa again," Eri thought as her glowed. "Can I turn him back?" "Same with my mom as MR. Nezu said not to, it cause a lot of damage, but it could work." Kota sat in his room on his comfy chair. He was bored out his mind after he got home from school. "I hate my new school," he muttered. "I can tell with the fight you got into today," Shino says, popping her head into his room. He touched his bandage over his cheek. "Wasn't my fault, he was bullying a kid smaller than him," Kota says, thinking about his 2-week suspension. Shino hummed. "It's good that you are standing up for others, but try to find a way without fighting. The future you want is always in your hands. All you need to do is work for it and grab a hold of it." These fights can ruin that. Just think of another way. I know you're smart enough to find a way. Shino tells him, rubbing his hair. She exited his room, then popped her head back in. Please tell me that I am going to hear some good news at this parent-teacher thing tonight. Shino says as Kota looked at her, pointing at his bandage. Other than the fights. Depends how you define good news. He says to Shino as she responds. I define it as you getting straight A's with behavioral issues. You might want to rethink that definition. Kota says, looking away from his aunt. Enough said. Shino says, walking away and hearing the front close. He sighed, reaching into his hidden compartment in his drawer. Out he pulled a photo of him, Izuku and Eri making funny faces. Uncle, I wish you'd remember us one day and come back. He says, getting a message from Eri. Is Eri going to rub it that I didn't go with them? He stopped to see what she sent him. A photo of Deadpool trying to pull the children off of him. Sending a message back, he went to his closet and pulled out his gear. He always said that he'd be my biggest fan, same with Eri. Time to show him my growth. He said, climbing out his window and shooting a web, swinging away. Izuku walked around passing a bunch of posters for a concert later that week for the up-and-coming heroine Earphone Jack. She's pretty cute, too bad she wouldn't even look at a guy like me. He muttered, then felt an odd sensation hit him. How my Deadpool sense are telling me something. Something bad is about to happen. Izuku was cut off, getting thrown through multiple buildings. Ow, who did that? He shouted, getting up slowly and looked to see who did it. Oh shit. The buck did I do this time? Izuku stated, getting up, seeing a large hulking man that when looked upon you can only think. He is too damn big. You got the Juggernaut locked up. Juggernaut roared, stomping towards him. First off, can I get an autograph? And it was Black Tom that you arrested. Also, you got caught. How did you get caught? Izuku leaned back, dodging a swing only to get kicked into the air. Flying back, Izuku thought of a way to land. Suddenly he saw he was about to crash into the red-haired girl in the air. He caught the girl mid-air and instinctively used his body to protect her. Crashing into a concession stand. Are you okay? Izuku asked the little girl, who was on the verge of freaking out. Izuku was impaled by shards of wood. Izuku pulled them out. See, I am all fine, don't cry or freak out, whatever it is you are doing. He says, showing her the healed wound. She touched it and seeing that he was safe, she hugged him. See, all good. He says as the ground shook. Oh no, did I leave the stove light on? Juggernaut crashed through as Izuku grabbed the child, diving to the side. Hey, time out, I have a kid, Izuku shouted as the enormous man before him. No one stops the Juggernaut. Juggernaut swings at him, upping his speed compared to before. Izuku covered Wanda with his body as he loud clang. Looking up, he saw Wanda make a barrier that blocked the blow. Good job, now run, I'll hold him. Izuku said to her. Looking into her eyes, he could see that she was afraid. Taking off his mask, Izuku handed it to her. I'll be back, for now go. It will protect you probably. Izuku said as the barrier broke and Izuku threw the child into the air, taking another direct blow from the Juggernaut. Wanda stabilized her flight to see Izuku fighting Juggernaut. Papa is protecting me? She asked herself. She hugged the mask of her father's. I have to help. Taking out his blades, Izuku clashed with the Juggernaut. Every blow he took, it felt as if his soul was being punched out of his body. How are you even here? You should in jail, Izuku shouted, barely avoiding another fist. I was being transferred. Finding you is a stroke of luck. Well, that stroke of luck of yours is going to get me killed. Izuku stated, stabbing Juggernaut's hand. I hope it does. Sorry, but I can't, don't know why, but I can't, Izuku shouted, getting thrown into a pole. Grabbing it, Izuku smacked Juggernaut with it. Right where, Juggernaut roared, grabbing the pole, then throwing it, sending Izuku flying back as if he was holding onto a flying broomstick. Izuku was caught by a massive vine. Looking down, he saw the 3 girls from earlier and 3 new kids appeared. The vines tell me it's him. Samuel says as Pietro ran up with his super speed. So you guys found him? He said as Izuku cut his way out of the vines as Juggernaut barreled towards them. Picking up the kids, Izuku ran with Juggernaut chasing him. Why are you all here? Izuku asked as he leaped over a stand with Juggernaut just running through it. To see you, Papa, Dad. The 7 of them said as he groaned. I am not your father. He says, then why does Sam over here look exactly like you except for his eyes? Clara stated as Yuri nodded. Look, we will talk when I beat the bad guy, Izuku says, throwing them into the air towards a stand. They safely on a net with the Juggernaut running past them. Izuku makes a quick left as his chaser smash right the building he lead to. Think Deadpool, how do you stop the Juggernaut? You don't, he shouted as Izuku smashed a boulder on his metal helmet. It shattered the boulder to bits as the Juggernaut smiled. I am going to rip you in half. He stated, grabbing Izuku. I believe you. Izuku said, throwing the rock bits into his eyes. You motherfucker, he roared, dropping Izuku to the ground. Using the opening, Izuku looked around and found a giant bronze All Might statue. Using his strength, he ripped it off the ground and lifted it into the air. Sometimes to beat something bigger than you must find a bigger stick to beat them with, Izuku yelled, slamming the statue downwards onto Juggernaut. A massive crash was heard all around as Izuku huffed. I think I got him. he said as the statue began to get lifted. Or not. Juggernaut lifted the statue and tossed to the side with ease. If he mad before then this is a completely different level than before. Uh-oh, Izuku said as hundreds of rock pellets tore his body like Swiss cheese. Juggernaut picked up another handful of stones crushing to the right size. Attack on Titans much? Izuku said sprinting forward. He threw the stones again at Izuku. The world slowed for Izuku as he felt a presence behind him. Catherine ran towards him filled with tears from his current appearance. His body moved at its quickest to reach her and covered her to take the blow. Only for it pass right through. That felt weird, kid, you good? Izuku asked the little girl as she hugged him crying. Petting her hair, Izuku hugged her back. It's okay, I'm okay. See. Izuku said with another volley of rocks passed through him. Catherine looked at the now healed Izuku and smiled. Papa is strong. She said as he reluctantly nodded. Don't know about that cause I haven't been able to protect a single thing in my life, not even my pet gator. At your limits, Deadpool. Or is the kid getting in the way? Don't worry, I'll get rid of her. Limits? Getting rid of her? Izuku stayed quiet as he held the little girl as if his life depended on it. She saw him as her father though he wasn't, he felt as if he was needed for once in 5 years of murdering and stealing. I got your limits right here, Izuku shouted covering Catherine's eyes and flipping him off. Juggernaut rushed at Izuku. Hum at me big boy, Izuku taunted pulling out an anvil. Deadpool smashed the anvil on the helmet causing a loud ringing sound. Juggernaut held his head as Izuku picked up the anvil and with all his force smashed it down on the big guy's toes. Hearing a nice crack, Izuku lifted the anvil upwards and uppercutting the giant with it. Stumbling backwards with a nicely placed vine, he fell backwards. A wave of ice covered the body all but head. Then wrapped with thick tree roots that made him immobile. Kitty then sunk him into the ground. Wanda flew in burying the Juggernaut in debris with her magic. All the kids ran up to him and hugged him tightly. That was so cool, Dad, Tomo shouted. Papa is the best, also really weird but cool, weird like us, Eleanor says as Izuku turned to her. Who told you you're weird? You kids are amazing. Izuku says as they all look down. The kids at school, they always tell us that we are freaks or weirdos for our extra abilities. Emma comments as he patted her head. Well, they are wrong, look what you all are capable of. Izuku said point at Juggernaut that he could only hear muffled screaming from. We have to get home. Izumi says checking the time as Eri nodded. Kirigi latched onto Izuku's leg as he tried to shake her off, but she wouldn't budge. Take us home, Papa, she ordered him, or I will start biting. Izuku sighed. Hein he reluctantly agreed, so him and the platoon of super-powered children walked of the now destroyed All Might world. So will you marry my mom? Catherine asked him as he held Eleanor in his arms as she slept. I'm only 23, doubt that she would even think of me like that. Izuku says looking down. He conversed with the children telling them the page version of his past 5 years. Wanda flew round him in circles soon giving him back his mask. Tomo and Cory were quiet but Izuku talked to them if they didn't respond. Pietro ran up and down buildings with Kitty on his back. The triplet stayed by his side holding his hands. Kirigi was still latched onto his leg asleep so he kept walking not to wake her. Izumi kept asking about his adventures. Emma showed him her diamond form that he clapped showing he was impressed. Eri was carried on his back as she reminisced. I could do it right now. She thought as her horn began to glow. Just a brain, Eri, only 5 years to reverse. She was thinking of the best way to do it. Till she looked up to see a car flying towards them. She flinched back as it got close to hitting them only for it to slow down. Then go in the opposite direction. Rhino, it's bad to throw cars at people, or did you forget? Spider-Man asked smashing the car into Rhino. It's time for you nap. Attaching a web to Rhino's horn, Spider-Man pulled himself in and landed a clean punch to his jaw. Knocking the Rhino out like a light. Holding his hand, ouch, that actually hurt my hand. He muttered turning around and swinging away to a nearby alleyway. Izuku saw this and smiled, that was so cool, the webs, the spider aesthetics, the suit matches mine. Oh, I need to get an autograph, Izuku shouted taking out his notebook. Flipping through he found other hero signatures. I don't remember getting All Might's, Night Eye, and Gran Torino. He muttered looking through them. Appa, it's getting late, we should get home. Eri sweat dropped at his antics for the signatures. That made Izuku stop. I don't got a place to stay, the apartment I live in kicked me out. Eri thought about way to make sure he stays close to them so she could enact her plan. Then a bright idea popped into her head. My grandpa and grandma are renting a room out. Eri says in a very convincing voice. Okay. Izuku says with smile, they won't chop me up and try feed me to others. He asked as Eri looked at him confused. Yeah, I rented a room from some cannibals, they were nice until they got hungry. Izuku said nonchalantly as Eri sweat dropped. Okay, let you the location and tomorrow meet us at the soon to be open pizzeria. She said quickly writing down 2 locations. Thanks a lot, what's your name? Eri Midoriya Bakugo. She says as Izuku nodded, nice name. I have a similar one, Izuku Midoriya mercenary for hire. Deadpool. She smiled as he walked away putting down the children. Don't worry kids, we will all see him tomorrow, promise. Eri said as they all let go of him. Here is 2,000 yen. Go get some candy for yourselves at that store. She said as they ran off. She skated to the alleyway. You can come out now. She said as Spider-Man landed taking off his mask. So tomorrow I can him meet again? Kota asked. She nodded. Well then one more day couldn't hurt. He said putting back on his mask and swinging away. Eri pulled out her phone making a couple calls to everyone. Izuku got to the house and rang the doorbell then again and again. The door slammed open. Cut it out, I heard you the second time, she shouted at Izuku. Don't you mean first time? If you heard it the second time then you heard it the first time. Izuku says with his broken nose healed. No, my doorbell has a counter on it, my daughter installed it replacing my old counter. She says letting him. Aren't old people supposed be living here? Eri said her grandparents live here. Izuku says getting hit in the back of the head. I am barely 45. So Izuku, you can live here for free. She said as he looked at her confused. Why? There has to be a catch, right? Nope, you saved my grandbabies so this is my way to repay you. She said trying to think of a good excuse for him staying. Izuku took off his mask as she smiled seeing her sons after so long. She would have waited the rest of her life for him to return. After all this isn't the first time he disappeared. Masaru walked in and instantly hugged his son. He was hugged back by the confused young man. Are you okay? I am not best person to be hugging, my hands are filled with blood. Izuku admitted peering at his hands that were clean, but his mind flashes images of them filled with blood. So were mine, you're still young. It's not too late for change. He says as Izuku nodded. I don't know if I can, I feel like I've tried in past and only made it worse. Izuku said as Masaru sat the 23-year-old down. Why you remind me of my old son. Masaru says to Izuku as Mitsuki sat down next to her husband. I do. Can I meet him? He sounds fun. Izuku says as Masaru looked down. He passed away 5 years ago. He was a rambunctious, adventurous, and a kind child. He stated as Izuku listened to the older man. Life was never fair for my son, his original parents passed, born with cancer, at the age of 3 he was kidnapped. He was tortured to insanity by an evil doctor who wanted to replicate his quirk for 10 years. Masaru says as Izuku stayed silent. He told us later on the way he escaped was by causing a large explosion. When he got out his mind was beyond broken and fragile. He did what he could for money. Masaru says. Izuku spoke up. Did he ever get better? Masaru smiled. Yes, he did. He met and partnered with a local inventor that he gave a home to. Being with her kept him together along with the others that came along to help him. They all held his mind together. He says looking down. What happened? He asked. The same men that turned my son into what he was came back after his friends and family. They did exactly that, making sure my son wouldn't get in the way. That was my son's breaking point, his mind shattered completely, killing him. Masaru said as Izuku looked at the man with no way to respond. That was 5 years ago, yet I still feel as if he is still with us. Masaru said teary-eyed. He didn't deserve what happened to him, but he made the best out of what he was given and was happy for the few years of freedom he had. Izuku got up and hugged the older man, internally asking himself why he was doing so. Mitsuki led Izuku to his own room. It was a bit dusty with some boxes inside with a lone bed on the side. This room has hardly ever been used by either my sons. Those two shared a room constantly even when they each had one. She says walking in. I know you don't have cloths other than your suit. These are my old son's cloths. You can have them, Izuku. She says opening a box. Peering inside he pulled out a red coat. This is really nice. He muttered as she nodded. Well, it's getting late, I might as well turn in for the night. He says. She patted his head. Good night and have sweet dreams. She said walking out, shutting the door. Maybe living here won't be so bad. Morning came for the mercenary, awakening from a oddly peaceful dream. It was the first in 5 years he had a pleasant night of sleep. This is a great start. Getting ready he put his suit in a bag whilst changing into the cloths given to him. These fit oddly perfect. He left early in the morning to see the sun rise. He could see his own breath in the cold, so he pretended to be dragon and shoot fire. He walked past a motorcycle that had a nice shade of purple and green. Like the bike. He turned to see a purple-haired rocker girl. Yeah, I do. He said. Kyoka Jiro, and you are? Kyoka asked as her backpack moved a bit. Izuku Midoriya. Izuku responded, getting a good look at her. Her bag opened to reveal Jeff the land shark. He leaped out to Izuku and licked his face. Whoa Jeff, how he has tried to bite your face off. She said amazed as Izuku petted the shark. Jeff looked at the hand and bit off Izuku's fingers. Kyoka looked at Izuku in fear. Oh my god, we have to get you to a hospital. Jeff spit them out, she shouted as Izuku laughed. Don't worry, want to see a magic trick? He asked as he showed his regeneration at work. Regrowing his fingers. See? All good. How? Secret, it's my quirk. He says as she grinned, "This is so cool, I haven't met anyone else with one like this, well, other than my children." Izuku smiled as she rambled about her kid's abilities. Kyoka caught herself midway through turning red. "Sorry, it's just this is the first time I have been able to talk my kids like this with someone," she said, secretly asking herself why she opened up to this random guy. "It's alright, it was great to hear. Seems like your family is happy and that's great to tell others," Izuku said as she turned a bit redder. Thanks, well, I have to go," she said, hopping on her bike and speeding away. Her face was really red, looks like she has a cold. Izuku trudged forward to his location Eri gave him. He walked past a woman with Snow White that was a real beauty. "She's hot," he thought, walking down the sidewalk. "Should I bring a gift? Flowers are cheap and always a good gift," he thought, walking into a flower shop to see a vine-haired woman. "Hello, how may I help you?" she asked. Yeah, I need a flowers for meeting someone new cause I don't want to show up empty-handed," Izuku admitted as she giggled. "Well, I have the right thing for you." Suddenly he heard a click behind him. "Empty your pockets," a robber yelled at Izuku, holding a shotgun to his back. Ibarra went to retrain the man only for Izuku to backhand the man. He went flying back out the flower shop. "Now where were we?" Izuku says, not even giving a second thought of what just happened. Ibarra nodded, handing him his random assortment of flowers. She held her chest as her heart thumped. She called the police to get the man picked up. Izuku kept moving, he felt great, feeling as if he was walking on sunshine. Then another explosion happened, there went his happy mood. "Aha, you can't catch me, Spider-Man," Green Goblin yelled as Spider-Man chased the man on the glider. He threw bombs as he flew, looking behind him to see the arachnid chasing him. "Heads up, you got mail," Izuku shouted, leaping into the air with a mailbox and slamming it into the Green Goblin's noggin, causing the two to crash into a car. Izuku got up, as did the goblin. "Who are you?" Izuku just slugged, then grabbed his face and repeatedly smashed his face into the car door. Till he finally knocked out and Izuku dropped him to the ground. That relieved some stress, he said as his new favorite hero landed next to him. Thanks for the help," Spider-Man says as Izuku took out a notebook. "Can I get autograph pretty please?" Izuku asked, shocking the webhead. Sure," he said, giving the other vigilante a signature. "Thank you so much, this has been such a roller coaster of emotions lately, but it feels great compared to before." Izuku says as he elaborated, "Sometimes I feel a Dr. Pepper in the rain, I don't know what means, yeah, you feel it." Kota stopped to think about words and thought back to all of their talks from 5 years ago and the sadness he felt when Izuku disappeared. "Yeah, I feel it," he said as Goblin tried to attack him. Izuku grabbed him and smashed his head into the pavement, protecting Kota. "Don't touch him," Izuku said with venomous tone. "Call on me, I will appear to help," Izuku says, continuing his walk. Kota smiled as he webbed Goblin to the ground. "Yeah, I will." Eri sat in Pizzeria as today was the grand reopening of the Pizzeria. May had fixed up this entire place by herself, repairing the rotting stage and animatronics along with multiple leaks, resealing the secret room, updating the paint job and posters. It took her 5 years, but she finally did it. She may have graduated from UA University, but she still hasn't made gear for a single client once. Though she has had people come to her, she has turned them away. She couldn't place it why, but she just had the feeling to wait for someone. "Alrighty, this show is about go on the road," she shouted, finally reinstalling the original Pizzeria stove oven to make the pizza. "Don't know why Nezu had this, but I don't care, I have it now." May spun around, feeling as if she was walking on sunshine. Her head suddenly ached, receiving images that were flashing quickly. Finding this place, fixing them, and helping someone fix the oven. Will you marry me? As suddenly as it came, it left just as quickly. The pain faded away from her head as she huffed. Again. She looked at her left hand to see the grenade pin rin. "Who gave me this again?" May asked herself. For the life of her she couldn't get rid of it. "Eri, you said someone was coming. Right?" May asked her adopted daughter. "Yes, yeah, someone is coming. Also the others are too, I called them all for the grand reopening today." Eri smiled as her plan was about to go into motion, bring the two back along with the others. "Papa and Mamas are going to be in love again. We can be a family again," Eri thought, remembering the past. The door to the Pizzeria opened and in walked in Izuku. May walked up to him. "So what can I help you with, mister?" "Call me Izuku, Eri just told me to come here. I brought flowers," he said as May took them. May noticed his other bag. "What's that?" She was pointing at the bag. "Oh, it's my suit. I love dearly, but it's starting to fail on me," he says, bringing it out, his Deadpool costume. The colors were faded, holes everywhere, and the pockets had holes as well. She grabbed the suit and inspected it. This baby was put through the ringer, but did it do what was supposed to? May asked Izuku. It's always had my back," Izuku said as she smiled. "Then this baby has done its purpose perfectly," May say as Izuku looked at his fondly. "Yeah, it has, I am still looking for the creator to repair it. I can't part with my partner just yet." Then you've come to the right place, I can tell by the stitching and materials that this is my baby, she says, stopping herself. Can you fix it? Izuku asked as Mei thought about it. Not fully, but I can do my best. It'll cost you, since you are my first client in 5 years and it's going to take time. She said, book me, I'll get you the money. He pulling out his wallet. Then Mei suddenly had a bright idea, how about instead money, you work here. I'll pay you, you look like a good fighter and I need a night guard. So you take care of my home and you get your suit fixed for free plus a job. How about it? When do I start? Izuku says, putting out his left hand. Mei takes it and shook it. Today it is the grand reopening after all. She said as Izuku nodded. Starting now we are partners. The door opened, show all the previous first years of UA in normal clothing. Mei introduced Izuku to them all as her brand new night guard. They all hugged him tightly, welcoming him to his new home. Hyuga had hard eyes the moment they laid upon him. Negan felt a similar feeling and simply began to drink, ignoring it. Thought it grew bigger as time passed. Are we late? Ray asked, walking in with the hussy cats. Nope, on time, Mei says, spinning into frame. Hello ladies, what should I get you? Izuku asked them, dressed as a waiter. Can I get you hot stuff? Pixie Bob says. Pixie, calm down, we don't want a sexual harassment case. Mandalay says as Ragdoll nodded. Can I get an iced tea? Ray asked as Izuku smiled. Here you go madam. He says, bowing, causing Ray to giggle. There's the smile I wanted to see. He says, walking away as she lightly blushed. More guests showed to the grand reopening. So Izuku entertained them all with his vast array of skills. Some he didn't even know he had. He played with all the children with their laughter ringing across the pizzeria. Jiro watched as her kid had fun with man from earlier. She smiled. So he is great with kids, that's good. Duya watched as Izuku did his show. He is doing well. He stated, holding his son as Chidas held his arm. Kota sat down next to Eri. You still want to go through with it? He asked as she shook her head. No. This is perfect. I need to stop getting stuck in past. I can see that Papa is happy being here. It's better if they all don't remember. Good. Kota says, taking a bite of his pizza. Now this is a meal. Eri took a bite of hers whilst taking her mask out. It was inspired from her father, so she decided to be like him, but in her way. My name needs to be like something cool. Jeff ran around with Izuku being his assistant. Izuku danced, did tricks, and sang, putting on a show with the animatronics. He was happy to be here. He finally felt as if he found a home. Mei watched as her dream finally came true. Tears flow from her eyes from pure happiness. Izuku saw this and went to Mei. Are you okay? He asked as she nodded. More than okay. We're partners, aren't we? He says as she nodded. Yes, we are. They shook hands, looking deeply into each other's eyes, feeling a connection like no other. The end. The end. You get out of here, I am having a moment, Izuku shouted as Mei nodded. We were having something, go somewhere else, Mei shouted. Izuku, go into back and get my weapons of mass destruction, Mei shouted as Izuku smiled and ran off. Yes ma'am, I am going to love this partnership. Let me know in the comments below if you guys want the next part. Also check out my other video that has been shown and left. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like and share this video. And have a fantastic day. Bye.